The path to automation. Joining us today to speak about that, Lori Gibson, Director of Consulting Services at Johnson Stevens Consulting, a division of high-tech material handling. Lori, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Lori, we have a small amount of automation in my company, but I really think I need to have a much larger initiative, but I'm not altogether sure where I start. So talk to me, tell me what I need to focus on. Where do I begin?
So the first thing you really need to do is to understand what your business growth is. So that means not just your existing where you're growing overall, but even by channel. So is it e-commerce growing separately than your wholesale business? How each of those are growing and what that growth rate looks like. Also understanding what your constraints are currently. So are you having a constraint with labor? It's a common problem right now. Is it a capacity constraint? Are you running out of space in inventory? Are you running out of space on your receiving dock or your shipping dock? So understanding what those constraints are can also help you understand what kind of automation you need, as well as if you also look at what your customer requirements are. Are your customers requiring that you get their package to them the next day? Or are they okay with 2 to 3 days? Also, do they have accuracy requirements that are really important to them, or level rates? So understanding what all of those things are kind of helps you target and kind of get started on what your automation needs need to be.
It really sounds kind of overwhelming, to be honest, and perhaps I'm going to need some outside help, and I'm hoping that maybe you're going to be able to give that to me. Here's a question. Insights into my planning horizon. I think I need to hear something along those lines. What would you say?
So what we typically do is we recommend a 5-year planning horizon to start with, and this is after implementation. So when you begin, you're going to start planning and then implementing your project, but you're really looking from when you start day one from implementation and really looking at what that growth level that we talked about is over that 5-year horizon, and then maybe even having a longer rate of 10 years. And what you're going to look in with that 5-year horizon is trying to really focus on what that growth rate looks like and where, so that you can start planning. And it also helps you if you're looking at a technology, say that it's robots that you're going to be adding. You may, for the first 3 years, buy the robots and then reevaluate where you need to be after that so you can grow. But if it's like a conveyor system, you may need to put that all in day one. So you need to make sure that you have enough room for growth as you go there, and you have an expansion plan, which is why you look at a longer horizon. So you don't put this in and then really get to a point in 4 or 5 years that your expansion plan needs to go this way, but you don't have space. So planning for that up front will really help in the overall implementation.
You know, it occurs to me that the planning process could be impacted, I suppose, by a number of things, but certainly by the size and scope of the project. So am I right about that? Walk me through that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is really the crux of this. Once you've kind of determined what that planning horizon needs to be and your growth rates, what you really need to sit down and look at where you are now, what your processes are now, and what they're going to look like if you maintain that same current state over the next 5 years. What kind of capacity needs are you going to have from space, from labor? And then you start looking at the technologies that you can use. And what are those constraints? Does that help you? Does it limit your space requirement? Does it improve your productivity so that you now have less of a labor component, so that goes down? Looking at all those things together. And what you really need to do is that way you can plan and you can compare your current state versus your future state, which will really give you that, tell you what you're getting out of that innovation and automation. And then also really, really the important thing, and a lot of people don't look at this, is getting good data. Making sure you have the right data to do this analysis is very important. If you start off with bad data, you're going to get bad results. Mm-hmm. And then once you get to this point and you've kind of mapped out what this is going to look like and you have all your data, you know what your flow rates are, it's probably, as you talked about, a good time to bring in somebody to kind of help evaluate and really scope and size and say, this is all my data. How much is this going to cost? So you can go straight to the vendors, but you can also go to an integrator that they can kind of have a wide range of options to help you, and that they can look at those and price those out and maybe help you select which is the right innovation and which is the right technology for you.
I think we may be on the same path here, but let me just drill down for a second. I know that the C-suite is going to say to me that I need to build a business case if I want to implement this automation here. So tell me, what is the best approach that I need to take if I'm going to be successful in convincing them?
And the first thing that C-suite's probably going to want to see is what that return on their investment is going to be. So to get to that, you've got the pieces now. It's your labor save is the first component of that. Another is if there is any space savings, and quantify what that space savings is. If you're going to get an ASRS that's or a goods to picker system that's going to reduce your space requirements by 10,000 square feet, what does that save you in your lease cost? What can you use that for expansion? What can you use that for other purposes? Quantify that, and then run that up against what the capital component is to determine what your ROI is. You also need to take into consideration if you're doing some type of automation and you don't have a lot in your facility, there may be some increased maintenance expense. So include that too. There's some other expenses that you need to make sure. And then that'll bring up that ROI that you can put to them. But the other thing not to forget is that there's some qualitative things too. Like we talked about at the beginning. Is it going to improve your service level? Is it going to improve your accuracy? That may be harder to quantify, but those are really important factors when you're starting to look at automation, what it can help you with.
All right, you've run down a list of really important stuff that I need to keep top of mind, but I don't want to be surprised if I'm going into this deal here. Any other key factors that I need to be aware of when I'm thinking about this journey, if you will? What do you say?
Yeah, also you need to take into account some of the external costs, the internal costs that you might have. Besides just buying this equipment, there may be some system integrations costs on your side that you have to get involved, making sure you understand what those other additional costs are. Some of these systems, if it is a goods to picker system, they may require very flat floor. There may be some construction remediation that has to take place in order to take care of that. So make sure you understand that. Also know what the time frame is. We all know supply chain right now is long, and it's the same, no different for innovation and for technology. So make sure you schedule in enough time to do the proper planning, do the proper evaluation, and to include those lead times so that you're not surprised at the end that you need a solution in 6 months, but the whole planning time is going to take about a year.
I got to say, I'm really impressed with the detail that you have just given me here. But it occurs to me that somebody watching the video may not be entirely familiar with Johnson Stevens Consulting. So if you would just give us a little rundown about the company itself, what its focus is, what it does, and how is it helping to enhance the operations of its clients. So what would you say?
Yeah. So Johnson Stevens Consulting is a division of high-tech material handling, which is interlogistics implementer of supply chain option solutions. So we as the consultants come in at the front end generally and help with all the things we've just talked about, any kind of process optimization. And maybe it includes technology, maybe it doesn't. We also help them with the building design, and then we can turn that design over to the other parts of our team who will then help design, put those technologies in, and do the complete integration, including controls and systems to give you a one-stop shop where you can get everything from beginning to the end and making sure that you get a fully integrated system.
Well, you certainly are the go-to person. I really appreciate your finding the time to speak with us about this. Great detail, great information. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's Lori Gibson, Johnson Stevens Consulting, speaking with us today about the path to automation in your company. Thanks for watching.